Welcome into a brand new edition of Inside Cowboys Training Camp, driven by Ford, live from the practice field here on Oxnard, California, alongside Nick Eatman and Britt Johnson. As always, I'm Kyle Yeomans as we wrap up practice day number 3 here from the West Coast. And Nick, I'll give you an opportunity to just kind of set the stage. What did we see in practice today?
Well, we saw some wide receivers making some plays, or the play. I'm sure, by now you might have seen it. TJ Vasher had one of the best catches of camp that I can remember, not just this camp, but in other camps. One-handed grab and, big guys that went up and play big. But it was little guys, too. The new receiver, Kavontae Turpin, there's no easing him in. He's ready to go. He's doing some jet sweeps and showing that speed, and he stands out for a different reason because he's so little. He's got Brit size over here, but he's fast. I don't know if he's faster than you.
I should start playing football, maybe.
Go for it. Let's go for it. So I'll take over tomorrow, and she's going to be playing.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. No, I saw the receivers, though, didn't I? And CD as well. That first-team offense looked pretty good on some of those 2-minute drills.
Yesterday Rob actually spoke to the fact that the defense had started off hot. Today, obviously, it seems like the offense is kind of catching up. When typically does the offense start getting to catch up to the defense like that?
That's a good question. It varies a little bit. I would say when the pads come on, though, typically is when it gets kind of evened out. I think once the pads come on and the intensity goes all the way full throttle, that's probably when the offense starts getting, because you can get a little bit more physical in your blocking.
Speaking on kind of the same lines, you talked about the youth the last time you were on this show and how it is so imperative that youth gets their feet underneath them early in camp and they can make an impact early in the season. Have you seen some guys on the offensive side of the football, some young guys beginning to stand out? I know you mentioned both Turpin and TJ Vasher, both youthful wide receivers that made an impact today.
Yeah, another one, Dennis Houston, number 3. 3 on offense. I know Anthony Brown's making plays on defense, number 3. But no, I thought Dennis Houston's getting a lot of reps. They're getting him in the first and second team. But going to the offensive line, there's a big question on what's going to happen at tackle. Josh Ball, I thought, has done a pretty good job so far. Waletzko's been banged up with a shoulder injury. Josh Ball, he needs to step up and do well and be that swing tackle. So far, so good with him.
Now, I do want to mention Matt Waletzko. He left practice yesterday with a shoulder injury. Any update from Mike McCarthy on his availability moving forward?
Sounds like a couple days. He said that in Friday's press conference was just going to be a couple days on him. It's a college injury, a shoulder subluxation, which sounds really professional. It also means popping in and out, which doesn't seem very it seems painful. But I think they're going to get that under control. But in the meantime, Josh Ball is going to take advantage.
He definitely had some snaps today. No chance to see Tyler Smith yet at tackle, and that's another young guy you could maybe see in the mix without Waletzko. We'll see how much his injury plays into the fold. Special thanks for Nick Eatman joining us here in this opening segment, but when we come back, we've got plenty more to break down when we come back with more Inside Cowboys Training Camp, driven by Ford.
Inside Cowboys Training Camp, presented by Ford, is brought to you by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys, and by Ford F-Series, the best-selling truck in Texas.
Go Cowboys!
This segment is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors, official sporting goods retailer of the Dallas Cowboys.
Welcome back to Inside Cowboys Training Camp, driven by Ford. And Britt, you had an opportunity to sit down with Jabril Cox, one of the big question marks on that Cowboys defense this year as he returns from a torn ACL, and plenty of eyes on him throughout training camp.
Yes, we kind of spoke, when we first sat down, kind of talked about that ACL injury, which happened almost halfway through the season, and he actually did get a couple snaps playing defense before that happened, and I actually asked him what was the most challenging thing during his rehab process, and this is what he had to say.
Yeah, it was just really the physical aspect of it. Mentally, I felt like I had everything down, but just getting back with the fellas, being part of the group, that was something that I was missing, especially watching it on TV. So it's good to be back.
Now, speaking of being back, earlier this week, the physically unable to perform list was put out. Unfortunately, you were not on that list. Mike McCarthy did say, though, you were going to have limited access to practice. You weren't going to be doing a ton of stuff, but you're just kind of getting your feet wet. How has that process been? How are you feeling now?
Yeah, I'm feeling great. The knee feels fine. My body feels fine. They're just going to limit my reps, but it's all up to me just to go hard every chance I get.
I would say one of the most competitive rooms on this team is the linebacker room. What are the keys to being competitive in that room?
Yeah, it's really just having a nice team bond within. All of us, we're all tight-knit group. We all know each other real close. We've all hung out with each other outside of the Stars. So just having that team bond is something that we just love to have. And then when we come out here on the field, we know that we're trying to be the best linebacking crew in the whole NFL. So we're definitely competing every time we get.
Well, we hope you have a healthy and great season this year.
Right on, appreciate it. Thank you.
So plenty of high expectations for Jabril Cox as he enters year number 2 out of LSU, and a guy who really Dan Quinn could utilize on that defense. What do you feel like his ceiling is here in his second year?
Let's not do that. Let's not put a ceiling on a guy like this. You know, he did, like I said before, get a couple snaps in before that injury. He's been taking his injuries slow and easy, and like Mike McCarthy said again, like he is, you know, just limiting him, getting him a few reps, but not doing too much. So I think midway through the season, we could see him even move up to that number 2 linebacker. Right now, he's probably listed at number 3.
Yeah, he's one of those guys, Mike McCarthy even talked about it earlier this morning, that earned his way into more playing time prior to the injury.
Right.
So hopefully he can continue that going. Outside of Jabril Cox at linebacker, how do you feel about the depth at the position?
Ooh, we're a little light, but, you know, again, we do have that salary cap room in case we do need to add somebody if these guys, you know, don't get to the level that they need to towards season and towards midseason. So I'm okay with what we have right now. I want to see what these guys can do and go from there.
Yeah, you look at really some of the depth that could be added. You look at some free agents along the way that could maybe even make an impact. The Cowboys have plenty of opportunity, but Jabril Cox is really trying to take care of his opportunity. So is Dalton Schultz, who continues to find a leadership role on the offensive side of the football. We hear from tight end 1 when we return.
This segment was brought to you by Academy Sports + Outdoors, official sporting goods retailer of the Dallas Cowboys.
Just being that kind of vocal leader for the younger guys, that's something that I did in college, and I'm happy to do here, because obviously this is not a one-person plays type deal. I mean, there's multiple tight ends in the field at all times. Like, this is not a I don't want to help you. I want to help foster that, because at the end of the day, I want to be next to somebody who is just as dedicated and knows his job just as well as I do.
It's the final segment of Inside Cowboys Training Camp, driven by Ford, alongside the great Britt Johnson. I'm Kyle Yeomans. As we wrap things up, you just heard from Dalton Schultz, presented by Sleep Number, really engulfing the leadership role that he's going to have. He was placed on the franchise tag this offseason, a $10.9 million deal, at least for 1 year, but he also understands the leadership that he has to provide to a young tight end room. How crucial is it that some of those young tight ends come up and make an impact?
You know, I think it's very crucial, especially because we lost Blake Jarwin in this offseason. Blake Jarwin actually didn't play a ton last season. He was placed on IR, and same for the season before that even so. So Dalton Schultz is really, taken control of the tight end room, and I think that a guy like Jake Ferguson, who we actually saw run some snaps with the ones in training camp the last couple days, I think he's one of the guys that I'm looking forward to maybe stepping up and being one of those young rookies that could probably start starting halfway through the season.
You've got Ferguson, you've got Sean McCune, you have a veteran, Jeremy Sprinkle, so
yes.
there are a couple names there. Peyton Hendershot trying to make the roster as well. Plenty of tight ends for Dalton Schultz to be a leader for. Do you think he's ready for that challenge?
Absolutely. Let's go, Dalton Schultz. He's been with the Cowboys for a little bit now. He's been that number 1 guy in that tight end room for the last season at least. So I think he's definitely ready to take up that leadership role for the Dallas Cowboys.
We'll see exactly how ready he is come regular season, but we've got plenty more training camp to come around the corner. Thank you for joining us here on Inside Cowboys Training Camp, driven by Ford. For Britt Johnson, I'm Kyle Yeomans. We only have one more unpadded practice. The ramp-up period is almost over here from Oxnard.
Inside Cowboys Training Camp, presented by Ford, was brought to you by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. And by Ford F-Series, the best-selling truck in Texas.